All right.
Cases and making up evidence. And trying to arrest
Hey,
him and
Armin.
making up evidence.
Hello,
Armin. Yes,
They
we
did.
have it here too.
Yay. Hi, guys. Sorry, Sketch, you were saying something. I interrupted. I apologize for ruining it.
I was saying that Trump has also personal interest
wait.
in making sure this war goes well and ends well.
Sorry, I didn't
that
have
we
your
win.
audio. My Bluetooth was connected to my phone. Can you say that again?
I think that Trump has personal interest. It's not just because he's a really good guy. Like they put 37 felony counts, they arrested him. If he doesn't have a positive outcome here, they're going to try to arrest him for going beyond the War Powers Act. Like this would be an even better case than the bogus case with the felonies about bookkeeping, which his accountant did without his permission. They will make up lies and make up fake cases to put him in jail, and they would make the war case the strongest case against him. They would try to like make some claims. Like it is very good for him to win for
What
his
would
own
be
personal
considered-
safety, the safety of his family.
What would
I
be
don't-
considered to Democrats to the win?
Oh, they want the destruction of the USA.
No, I mean, what would be what Trump could do for the Democrats? What's the outcome that consider him winning the war?
The Democrats don't believe he can do anything well. They wish for his death.
So
Okay,
what's
we'll
the
have
point?
to. We'll have to.
So, Sketch, the question is like, given that the Democrats will not be happy with anything that President Trump does, so what's the point? Like, why would it? So, I think he does think then why would a win stop them anyways? Right? Like, so what could
It
be the
wouldn't.
win-
It wouldn't. It wouldn't.
So
but it would
then
stop.
why-
It would gain the middle.
the middle. So you're not trying to convince the Democrats, you're trying to convince
No.
the middle. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That's what okay. So Ida's question then would change to what would convince the middle that he's winning the war? Like what would convince them?
Change probably what they would want. They want the dust back. They would say they can't keep the material, and they would probably want to see a change in the regime. Like
So
if
my-
the middle would they would like we went in because of the dust. This was the excuse that was used. This was like, hey, they got that dust. We got to get that dust. Leaving that dust would be a problem, and I don't see how they're going to get a dust through a deal.
So my impression, and as a non-American, you could correct me if I'm wrong about this. As a non-American, my impression is that the Americans care more about, I don't know, inflation and gas prices than whether or not they're going to get the nuclear dust back.
I was looking yesterday at the polling, and the polling has an 80% of Americans do not want the IRGC to have a nuclear weapon. 75% are in favor of military operations. Like we like to take this anecdotal. This is what I've told you before. I despise anecdotal evidence. I despise what I hear, where my family, where I live. I don't care. There's 350 million Americans. 70 million of them are in the middle belt. In the middle America.
Just to be clear, when I say I've heard, what I mean is like I heard the statistics. Like I'm not basing it on anecdotes. Like I'm saying based on what my understanding is that the data shows that Americans mostly care about inflation and basically purchasing power and affordability more than the nuclear dust being taken out. Is that data
that
correct?
separates the question though, right? Like if you're asking me how do they feel about the IRGC, what's a win for them in this account, the data shows that 80% of them don't want them to. If you're talking about, okay, how do you convince them that there's a win here? Do they care more? Yeah, I mean, I could care more about water than food, but I still care about food. I'll die without 2 days of water. I can live without a week of food. That doesn't mean I don't care about food. So they may care more about that because it's more important, but that doesn't mean that they don't care about what's going on in Iran because it affects it in the long term. Like one of the things I would like to do is show Americans, hey, for your bottom dollar, this thing not becoming a toll booth for Iran is a very good thing. For your bottom dollar, it would benefit. That's why I would like to make an elevator pitch to the Americans. It is in your best interest for the stability of Israel and Iran. If you get these two people stabilized, your prices are going to go down by half. Like everything's going to get cut in half. Not everything, but like a good portion of like right now, urea and other I would say fertilizers went up double in price. It could go down to half or less. Like half would be where it was before the war, even less than that if we have stability in Iran and Israel. This is very
Yeah,
important
but
for
that's an
America's
uphill.
bottom dollar.
So I'm not. By the way, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. Okay, I'm just adding. Like every time I say something, I'm adding to what you're saying rather than trying to negate what you're saying right now. Okay, because I'm with you there. But I'm assuming that that's an uphill battle, right? Because to like, especially like for us to try to convince the Americans that long term this is in their best interest when it comes to affordability and purchasing power is more difficult than what they could see with their eyes now at the gas pump, right? That will have a more direct influence on them than me and you trying to go and talk to people and be like, listen, long term this is good for you. That's a difficult argument to make, right?
It is a difficult argument to. It's not. It's a difficult argument to surmise. Like I call them busy Americans, Walmart Americans. They're very busy. So if you're going to explain this in a way that will make them care, you got to make it short and to the point. Like short and to the point would get to them. It is an uphill battle, but it is an uphill battle because we have a 5-to-1 in the press and five like let's say 5 channels, 4 are leftist channels. 5 speakers on any program, 4 speakers are leftist. So you're going to have a very muddled uphill battle. But if you're talking about overall, do they care? Yes, they care. Do they care more than they care about what's immediately in their pocket? No, but they do care.
By the way,
That's how you win the middle.
I might be wrong about this because Texas Troop is putting in the YouTube chat saying, Armin, polling data showed in the most recent general election, the number one voter issue were related to national security. So I might be wrong about that, but I don't. When it comes, but Texas Troop, can you? I don't know if you have access to that data. When they talk about national security, I'm assuming again I might be wrong about this. But I will give into whatever the data shows. But I think that they mostly are talking about the southern border. Like when it comes to number one voter issue related to national security, if that's number one, I think what they have there in one is basically migration from the southern border.
No, because migration from the southern border by who? Jihadis, Somalis. We have Somali learning centers where there are a bunch of Islamists trying to take advantage of the economic system and defraud it. We have more and more terror attacks by people that have gone through lax immigration. When we're talking about national security, it's anything to do with security. These people are watching how these protests are going crazy. And what flag do they see in these protests? It's the Palestine flags. They're seeing all these anti-Semitic attacks at synagogues. When they're talking about national security, it absolutely completely includes that because that's being a part. The immigration thing is actually relatively new. The biggest problem with national security for the last 20, 40 years has been Islamic extremism ever since 9/11.
Yeah, but if Islamic extremism is coming from the southern border, then that doesn't negate what I'm saying.
No, but it adds a context that takes it away from the other national security things like the Venezuelan gangs, which, were kind of like boasted by the Shadow Fleet, by that whole system. America's having an awakening of understanding.
So you don't need to say no. You can say like yes, but in addition, let me provide more context because what you said didn't negate what I'm saying, right? You just added more context to it. Yeah. Okay.
So I would add that the southern border at the beginning was more about immigrants taking advantage of the system, but it has grown to so many different nations. China is one of the nations that's coming up through the southern border. A lot of African nations coming up through the southern border has led to this is basically the first topic that we're discussing then, that has led to the southern border and all borders becoming a national interest, not just economically, but also because the highest rate of terror that we have is from Islamic extremists, and the highest source of Islamic extremism is Iran. So it's all kind of related. Like the president and Marco Rubio have done a good job through repetition and simplification to say all this Islamic extremism has always come from Iran. It's been 47 years. Once that starts clicking in through repetition, it starts to gain traction. And that's what's been starting to gain traction, that all our national security issues have come from this Iranian, well, IRGC support of proxies in the Houthis. Like that's been repeated so much that it's starting to sink in.
Yeah. Okay. There are people. I saw some. Who's modding today?
I can mod. I call the twos
Okay.
if you want. Okay.
We have a whole bunch of twos. So Danny, now that you're modding less, you should put more ones and twos in the chat, because now we get to, maybe now you could put more, because I love to hear what Danny has to say as well. So maybe he has more time to think about what he wants to say.
All right. First two I have here is Noah. I'm going to throw in a two for Danny, because I also love to hear his thoughts. But the first one to speak on this is Noah.
So Scott, you know I love you, man, but I gotta disagree with you on some things. I think Americans really care about inflation right now, and yes, gas prices have started going down, but I'm going to give you a perspective in my area. They've only gone down 80 cents, and before the war, gas was $2.56. It's $4.25 in my area still, so it hasn't even gone below $4 yet in my area. So people are still worried about if they can afford to put gas in the gas pumps, or petrol if you're outside the United States and Canada. And so I think they're really worried about inflation and gas prices right now more than they are about immigration right now. I think immigration is a lesser issue. Affordability is the major issue going on right now. And the longer the war goes on for a lot of Americans, I'm not saying I'm one of them. I want the regime to fall no matter what. But as long as the war continues, a lot of Americans are going to say, well, why is it worth it? My gas prices are so high in some areas that I can't even afford to put like food on the table or stuff. I gotta choose between like electricity or food or whatnot. And I know in a lot of areas the prices have gone down by a lot and people are seeing relief, but in my area it hasn't happened yet. It's only started to partially happen, but not by a lot. Yeah.
All right. If I'm going to have just like a 10-second reply, like I said, you care about water more than you do food. Like if you need water, you don't care about food. You do care about food. You don't care about as much as water. So right now, water is the inflation in gas prices. Now, let's say he wins the war, prices do come down. Then you won't care about that much, and then the national security issue will come back up. So that's where we're not in disagreement. I'm agreeing with you. Like they do need that water or they'll die, but it's in there. You know what I'm saying? Like it is important. It's not unimportant. It's just less important. And next to reply on this, we have Cherry.
I just want to reiterate that in America, we are very, very used to this game. The game of the media not covering the way things should be covered. We're used to this. What we're hearing about what people care about and what people don't care about is through the media. But if you talk to the average person, it is absolutely 100% different from what the media is trying to tell you. Yes, we do. We care about inflation. We care about gas prices. We care about food prices. But at the same time, we really do care about, we're sick and dang tired of having to worry about the terrorists. We're sick and damn tired of it. Yes, they come through the southern border. But if you talk to the average American, we are willing, once we're educated and understand, and that's part of the problem, is the media orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad, no matter what. But yeah, we care about those things, but we do care about, I mean, Sketch had a good point on saying that we do care about our security. We absolutely care about that first until you get to the far left. And then they care about boys playing in girls sports, all those, the crazy stuff. But most Americans are not interested in that being an issue.
All right. Next to reply on this is Jeff, and I agree with Sherry.
So I guess the focus of the discussion centers around where where the U.S. population is vis-a-vis supporting continued operations against the regime remnants that are in the process of being ousted from illegally occupying Iran. So it's very much split. Like, first, Americans are the most generous people on the planet when it comes to things like donating to charity, paying for international institutions up until recently. And it's not because of lack of generosity, it's because of ingratitude and the corruption that exists there. So I'm just going to put that out the gate. It's very much shaking out around, partisan lines, as one might guess. Republicans are majoritively supportive of military action against the regime remnants, about 77 to 85% last I looked at it. I don't know, that was a little like yesterday. Democrats, which are that party is predominantly and tragically held by radical leftists and or independents, and those are heavily opposed, between 60 and 95% opposed. As far as like gas prices and table issues undermining, say, national will and all of that, I mean, that has a role. That said, that's again part and parcel of why things like this these efforts like what goes on here is so important. What Goldie and Tusi and Armin and all of us and everybody, what we do. I mean, our adversaries are actively gauging out where we are politically because they know they can't beat us on the field of battle, and we kick their ass between their shoulder blades. So, yeah, that's the argument you have to make, is what Sketch is outlining. I mean, that there's no doubt about it. I would also add, we wouldn't be in a lot of these tight spots if we weren't like hamstrung by ill-contrived and in many cases seditious policies by the radical left, right? We wouldn't have had to worry about gas prices if we didn't cannibalize our natural gas and oil industry and refineries. We haven't built new refineries since the 70s. We're just now doing that. We wouldn't have had to deal with the mullah regime if we didn't have non-interventionists predominantly on the left deny, say, former President George W. Bush's plans to take out the mullah regime in 2005. Or Obama fucking over brave Iranian kids in 2009, or Obama denying the DOD to sanitize, say, our RQ-170 drone when it was hacked by the IRGC and MOIS and crashed inside Iran, which directly underwrote the mullah regime's development of Shahed 136s. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? Like, we wouldn't be in this mess if we didn't sit there and have, I don't know, like Obama retreads worrying about or fucking over our Ukrainian allies by carving out two like $10 billion waivers for the sanctions against Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state to sell 2 light water reactors to Iran. I mean, the list goes on and on. Just like we were talking about Kelly here, she was very much concerned about her family, I don't want to speak her, with somebody she's close to. And we talked about, you wouldn't have to really worry about, say, collateral damage if, say, I don't know, former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld's forced transformation efforts weren't undermined, because we wouldn't even need to use bombs. You would just vaporize soft targets with a free electron laser bounced off a bifurcated mirror in orbit, which is what they were looking to do. I mean, that's the argument, right? This is the main, that's how you frame the argument. On top of all the other things that both Armin and Sketch rightly kind of identified, it's where is this miserable, why are we in this spot? Right? What about illegal immigration? Well, yeah, nobody has a problem with immigration. We have a problem with illegal immigration when you have fucking 22 million people cross the southern border. You have no goddamn idea who they are, particularly in the context of the Chinese Communist Party pandemic, Wuhan COVID-19. They didn't even test them for fucking COVID. Never mind, they let loose 18,000 plus people that openly admitted they were tied to Hezbollah. What the fuck? I mean, that's the argument. I mean, as far as the importance of making the argument, well, you know, like Armin and Sketch is right about that. You have to maintain national will, public buy-in, pushing off like issue fatigue. That's why everybody here is a soldier in the battle of the narratives, that soft power battle space. Armin hammers that home every day, and he's not wrong.
Soldiers
And here to
battlefield of
battle a
narratives.
little more. Please go ahead and have a response. I know you threw a 2 in there. Would you like to speak more on this now, or would you like to go last, Armin?
No, I was just appreciating Jeffrey saying soldiers in the battlefield of narratives. I just want to appreciate that. But let's go with this. I think I'm at the bottom of this.
Okay. Next we have Treaty. Treaty, go ahead, please.
Evening, wherever you are. I think, yeah, I do agree with Jeffrey regarding it is the result of 47 years of bad policy towards Iran, starting with Carter. But having said that, I believe Mr. President Trump has been doing this very greatly. First of all, he was securing the oil, resources that's coming to America, so to keep the price controlled. And secondly, how much was the petrol prices before President Trump comes to office in Biden? I believe it was much higher than this, if I'm not wrong. So Biden ended up with very bad, high prices. And Mr. President, by doing the right things, controlled the economy, and the prices came down. But it wasn't long ago when two beautiful souls were murdered by IRGC in New York. So the IRGC effects are happening in America, and people's lives are threatened by them. And I think if you ask those families who've lost members, dear members, they would say, we don't mind if the gas prices go up, but IRGC is sorted, so we feel safer when IRGC is not there. That was my point only. Thank you.
That is a very good point. Under Biden's policy, the gas prices were incredibly high. Anybody complaining about them now and forgetting how they were during Biden is being either very forgetful or a bit of a hypocrite. And I would move on to Sophie. Sophie, go ahead and speak.
I very much agree with Treaty. And that's what I would say back to some of the points that Noah had made. Love you, Noah, but I disagree with some of the stuff that you were saying. I really love Noah, though, guys, so don't think I'm picking on Noah. So, gas is actually one of the highest where I live comparatively across the United States. But I've watched it steadily go down for the last month. But I think, one, Americans have very short-term memories, so we like facts here. I pulled up Gas Buddy. I'm looking at a chart. I've got things that you can all go in as a chart. It's a well-used thing in the United States. And I can pull up, I can go back the past 8 years to when was Trump president. I can look at all these spikes and how long they listed and up and down, but really staying extremely high. So this was going on in 2022, throughout 2023, 2024. You look at prices from the last administration from Trump, even when COVID hit, much lower. We've had some recent stuff, and it's been much shorter. So that's my first thing. So it has gone down quite a lot. I've noticed that a lot of people, they are not accurate in their memory, but they also, there's a few other things that are kind of frustrating. Like, okay, I'm on a tight budget right now because of personal things. I won't get into that. But you know, you can make just simple choices about, okay, when people say I'm having a hard time affording this, some of the same people who are saying this, they're actually buying things that I would call luxuries. So, you know, if you smoke, if you drink, if you buy cookies, if you buy crackers, if you're washing your car constantly, you might actually change just a few things that you do all the time that we take as convenience that are really nice things we do for ourselves. I literally made a joke when I both cost match my expensive dog food like across the country because I'm in an expensive area. But I also made a joke and I said, like, hey, see how my car's not washed? Yeah, gas prices. So I'm empathizing with people and doing the Walmart thing too. Like I'm saying, hey, I'm with you. I'm not saying it's not happening. It's short term, but you do what you can do. I actually live around a bunch of people who I realize you don't all live near a Walmart, but some people, not Walmart, excuse me. Oh my gosh, Sketch, I'm hearing too much from your Walmart thing. It's in my vocabulary now. So no, Costco. So Costco, guys, you know, look, I worked there when I was 16. Fair comment, all right? So they will give you back your money if you don't like literally make up your membership and save money. Not a commercial for Costco, but where I live, Costco is legit the only place I can afford to buy gas. I actually ban myself from buying gas across the street because it's usually the highest in my state. And I literally will punish myself, carrot and stick myself. So we can all try this. I literally will make, if I'm completely out of gas, which is my bad planning, and I'm low, I will make myself just get a few dollars to drive to the Costco. See how that works? I'm training myself. But you can swap things out. I mean, and I would point out with groceries, my groceries are higher, but they have nothing to do with what's going on now with a war. They were high before. Like they just are. I don't know. I mean, like I feel like groceries, they raise, you know, businesses, they raise prices and then they make up every excuse to not bring those back down. So, I mean, so I see Jose shaking, nodding his head, but like some of this, I mean, you can go figure stuff out yourself. Like I buy from one big brand and they're buying various things, you know, from Canada for some of the ingredients that they don't need to, that we have in the US in the middle of like tariff fighting back and forth. Not that that matters. I'm just saying, like, anyway, that's enough. I make, you know, people can actually take some responsibility with looking at how do we substitute what's really harming us with gas with where can I make up that difference? Do you go out for drinks? Can you go to happy hour instead? Can you like not buy the cookies? Can you buy like, I don't know, blueberries? See, nutrition people and a sweet. I'm just saying instead. That's all. Sale shop.
I agree with a large portion of that. Adjustment is something that when people have to adjust, they get a little angry, they get a little, wait a minute, what's going on? So that is very true. And adjustment may be the most appropriate response and to make this not really a big issue. But if that's why I like data, because like Treaty and Sophie has pointed out, these gas prices were a lot higher. Now we will move on with Shauna. Shauna, go ahead.
I just want to point out that I 100% would agree with what Sophia said. Like my husband and I do notice a lot, like if we're being lazy and using Instacart instead of driving our asses to the store, like it costs more money. So little simple things like that do make a huge difference in the dollar. Also, I will say that a lot of Americans don't know how to budget. They cut basic economic training from schools and people don't know what to do. I'm not saying that's the Iranians' fault. I'm not saying that's anybody's fault. I'm just stating that a lot of those programs were cut. I just want to say though that we have to find a way to communicate to people's feelings. I understand that we care about facts and data and truth, but people vote based on their feelings. If they're feeling like they're not being heard and that their economic concerns aren't being validated, they might just punish you. And I don't know the solution to that, but that could have a huge impact on the global on things. They could just vote and punish you because they're pissed off. In fact, Trump's first election was largely won because it was a fuck you to the Democrats who had abandoned the working class. At least that's how they felt. So I just always want to reiterate that point. I know I'm not saying that they're correct. I'm not saying they're correct about the gas prices. I'm saying that people are complaining and that they're feeling how they're feeling. So that's my only point is remember facts don't care about your feelings, but feelings don't give a fuck about your facts. So that's it.
I would agree with that. And this is my push for elevator pitches for the Walmart American Take. This is why I commend Rubio and Trump in his simplifying and repetition. That needs to go into the economic side, but I agree. And next, we have Jose. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Would you like to interject, Armin? You seemed like you were about to say something.
Yeah, just quickly regarding facts and feelings, it's completely true that it's better for us not to use feelings to come up with conclusions. But if we want to come up with the conclusions, we can't ignore other people's feelings. People say, like, I go by facts, not by feelings. Well, people's feelings could be measured, empirically measured, and feelings is data that needs to be people's feelings is data that could be empirically gathered and analyzed. So you personally is good for you, a good idea for you to be more objective. But it is absolute fact that people's feelings do matter, not from an anecdotal perspective, but from a statistical perspective. You need to, if you care about objective facts, part of objective reality is people make decisions based on their feelings, and you need to empirically go gather the data regarding these feelings and figure out how they're going to behave accordingly based on those feelings. So we cannot ignore feelings. We need to measure it, and we need to respond accordingly.
Absolutely agree. The feelings of support that America have for ending the nuclear powers from Iran, IRGC, do not negate the feelings that America has about their pocketbook. These are statistical fact. I like to take the statistical view, but this is absolutely true. These facts do not negate each other. And with that, we will move on with Jose.
But can I just quickly add to that, because that's a very important point. Also, because people's feelings matter, we need to come up with messaging that addresses not just the facts, but also has the highest emotional impact. And we could also measure that and do trial and error and see which one is more effective. It's not enough for you to have truth on your side. You also need to figure out the best way to communicate the truth. So you need to basically use data to figure out what works into communicating that. But so, yeah, go on.
Emotional weapons, spiritual weapons, not physical weapons always. You have to use your creativity and your art to get a point across. That's absolutely true. Go ahead, Jose, please.
Thank you. I'm going to take you back in time to the first time OPEC decided to stick 2x4 into the United States. I was just starting my first job at the time here in Florida. I had to wear white pants, white shirt, a fucking bow tie as I pumped gas and cleaned windows. The cost of a gallon of gas was 85 cents a gallon. Cars, the good ones, the most economical ones, got you 8 miles to the gallon. Okay? It went up to double the price in roughly 2 weeks. And all I heard was, this is intolerable, this is this is that. People, get a life. If it hasn't doubled on you, I can understand those people back there more than I can stand the people complaining about the gas prices now. I mean, look at why your prices are so high. Take a look at who are in the government. Take a look how much is taxes per gallon. Okay? In California, take a look at the fact that, and basically the entire coast out that way, take a look at the fact that the Democratic government of California fined the 3 major oil companies out there for refining because they were polluting. They had gotten their polluting down, so it was almost negligible in comparison to the rest of the world's big polluters. But what happened? They had to shut down because $1 billion fine a day that they operated, that was outrageous. So look at the policies. Okay, I know that's an emotional pull, and it's a fact-filled pull, but it's reality. Okay, I look at the prices now, and I'm looking at it, and guess what? I'm 2 cents from the price that it was here in Florida in my zip code. Okay, which is an upper end zip code price wise. Okay, 2 cents of matching what it was in December.
All right. I'm going to bet you looked adorable in a bow tie. And next to speak, we have Halda. Do I put you in last, Armin, so you can get closing thoughts, or would you like to go now?
Can I just? I want to see what other people have to say about this. So I just want to keep, because we want to be empirical. Just want to keep quickly give you the numbers. Okay, so University of Illinois GFAPS poll in June 2026. When asked the most important issues in the upcoming midterm elections, cost of living and inflation dominated across all political affiliations. So for the independents and other voters, 48.3% of the voters selected as their top issue. So this was the highest compared to everything else. Like you might say like 48 is less than 50%. Well, everything else was like lower, right? So for the Democrats, it was 44.7%. And for Republicans, it was 32.8%. Gallup on May 2026 mentions of the high cost of living and inflation as the most important problem facing the country rose to 15% in May, nearly double the 8% recorded in February. And then we had, so, I mean, I'm not going to read the other issues. Let me just go some other. So here's an interesting. So when it comes to Gallup, it really depends on how you'd ask a question, right? So if you just put the issues next to each other, government poor leadership gets 29%, immigration gets 20%, the economy only gets 11%. So you might think like, well, the economy is now less important than government and immigration here based on this poll. And economy general gets 11%, but inflation and high prices gets only 8% here. Unifying the country gets 7%, and then there's a whole bunch of other things less than that. However, when voters are given a list of specific policy issues and asked to choose which one should be the absolute top priority leading up to the 2026 midterms, then when asked like that, then economic basically crushes everything else. The economic survival crushes every other issue. It's interesting that you get different results based on how you ask the questions, and you get policies one by one rather than just generally, do you care about the economy or other stuff? So when you ask like that, lowering prices and inflation gets 57%, and controlling immigration gets 16%, reducing crime gets 9%, ending the Ukraine-Russia war gets 7%, maintaining peace in Israel and Gaza gets 6%, eliminating drug trafficking gets 4%. So you get a completely different result if you generally if you generally ask them what they care about, or when you get them specific policies, you get a completely different result, which is interesting. So those are the numbers.
I would like to say about that, like if I'm just looking at the numbers, okay, you asked them economy, it came out 11. Of that 11%, of those 11%, if you make that 100%, like 100% of that 11% put 56% on inflation, is that how that works out? Because you're taking away other topics. If you're saying, okay, if you only have to talk about the economy, what's most important within that economy? Because it's not the most important to them. You understand what I'm saying? Like you would have to like separate that out into what is most important, and then what's most important within that ranking. I'm not as good as numbers as you, so I'm deferring to you on my thoughts on this.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that you might be right. When people hear generally the economy, we're like, yeah, sure. But then when you tell them like rent, like if somebody is dealing with rent, they're like, yes, yeah, rent. Holy shit, I'm dealing with that right now. if you tell them about like inflation, if somebody is like that might resonate more with somebody if you specifically mention something that is hurting them more, so you get better, more bigger numbers that way.
I think what I was referring to is like if what is most important to me is leadership. That's what's most important to me. But if you're gonna make me talk not about leadership, you're gonna make me talk about the economy, then rent goes super high and housing goes super high. But that is not my most important. My most important is still leadership. But because you're putting me in this box where I have to talk about economy, inside that box, that's what's most important. If you let me be outside the box, my most important is leadership. Do you understand what I don't know if I'm pushing the issue
that's
too much.
personally you, right? Yeah, but that's personally you, right? Like you're not saying that.
No, I'm saying that the numbers show that what they care about is leadership, but if you put them in the box of the economy, within that box, that's what they care most about.
So, okay, so you're right. Like, okay, so here's the thing: poor leadership. Okay, that's getting the highest amount if you don't put them in the. No, because I don't think that's what's happening. Okay, because so let me tell you, the one that shows poor leadership as the highest, that's Gallup, right? And it's just generally putting everything next to each other. Okay, the other poll that shows the economy matters more. That's, I don't know how you pronounce this. Marist poll. So that is let me read the description of this so that you could better come up with a better conclusion. So when voters are given a list of specific policy issues and asked to choose which one should be the absolute top priority leading up to the 2026 midterms, economic survival crushes every other issue. So no, I don't think that you're being forced to pick one in every category. I'm not sure. I think you're being forced to pick the number one. Actually, that's a good clarification that we need. Are you picking one in every category, or your general highest priority among all the policies? Because I think your key insights, let me see. When forced to prioritize actionable policy, a massive majority point directly to their wallets, lowering prices. And no, I think basically all the policies together, mixed together, people choosing the absolute priority among all of them mixed together, then the economic ones comes higher. Does that make sense?
When you pointed out the question, it made more sense to me, because I think one of the things you touched on was how you ask the question matters. And I see what you mean. I see what you mean there, because how they ask that question, I'm like, okay, so they are choosing overall. They're not just in the box. Like they were. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
With that, next on the list is Halda. Go ahead, Halda.
Hi. Thank you all for that information. The only thing that I was going to say is I wonder if this situation doesn't eventually remind Americans how we really value luxury. In the 1970s, when we had, that fuel crisis, everyone ran out, traded in their big vehicles and got, economy cars. And then we saw that again, around 2008 and a little bit earlier. And here we are again. I know everybody on my street owns huge trucks. None of them own, anything that they're going to do anything with the trucks. But darn well, when they go to fuel, even on a regular day, they're probably putting in $70, $80, a gallon. My ex was like that. He had to have this huge truck just because he thought, that it was cool, that it was, whatever. But it would cost like $100 and some odd to fuel the thing. On a good day. So what I'm trying to say here is, I agree that fuel prices are high in certain areas. I sympathize. But I also wonder if we did not want to live such a luxurious, lifestyle, if it would hurt us as badly. And that's really all I have to say.
All right. That's some good insight. With this, I have Alexia. Alexia, I don't have a clear topic from you. I'm going to let you go on ahead and speak if you wanted to speak on this topic. If you want to put in a topic, I don't really have a one from you, but if you want to speak on this topic, go ahead. If you want me to write in the two for you, please go ahead and do that. Alexia? Okay,
think
so
just-
her response?
Yeah.
But what she wrote was, Jeff, knowing about the Lady R, you may know that there is a certain government in bed with IRGC and it is super dangerous. Armin will tell you, I have no choice but to keep fighting. There is no time for fear. I think this is about national security. And I think Jeff might have some insight into what this is about because I'm not too clear. Will you want to go ahead and help her out here, Jeff?
Yeah, so it centers around the government that currently resides inside South Africa. South Africa's government had, and definitely a lot of political elements within South Africa. They're extremely violent, very radical left wing, very much Afro supremacist, very much aligned with Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state and or the IRGC remnants, Mullah regime remnants, Chi-Coms, the rest of it. So there's a lot of destabilization going on, not the least of which is you have things like the Wagner Group helping out a lot of these groups to destabilize South Africa and be able to rob like rare earth minerals and diamonds and oil and all the rest of it. So, I mean, she's not wrong, right? I mean, that's like a legit issue, particularly if you're trying to like chop off all the tentacles of the IRGC. That's one of them. I mean, it's one of the longer tentacles, still significant tentacle. I don't want them to have any place to go, right? So balloon effect. We put pressure here. Bad guys go to places where you're not doing pressure. So the idea is, you know, you don't want to keep doing all that because you're doing whack-a-mole all day. My answer to that was pop the balloon. You just hit them everywhere and you don't give them a chance to fucking adapt.
All right. I believe we have super chats. They may be pressing on this topic, so I'm going ahead and let Armin take care of that. Go ahead.
I'll read them after Jose because Jose is responding to this topic and this would change the topic. I saw, so let's maybe let Jose respond and after that I'll go.
Oh, I'm very sorry, Jose. I just saw it and I'm just picturing you in a bow tie. Go ahead.
Yeah, picture me in a bow tie, sweating 50 pounds of water every couple hours. Okay. I want to bring you up to date a little bit on what's happening in South Africa because currently the largest population of people asking for asylum in the United States are the white South Africans that are being run out by the government. Apartheid is dead and living together is dead. And that's what's happening in South Africa. They're the largest population coming into the United States.
You have reverse apartheid. They're just going after they want to reverse with that? Okay.
You want reverse apartheid
Oh.
in South Africa? What the hell? Right? What?
It was what Jeff said. It was what Jeff said that there's it's basically payback time. And everybody that's white was obviously one of them that belittled them or made them feel small. So the government's definitely gone payback time. They're coming in, and Trump's already said they got it. You know, just got to make a reasonable reason why, and they're in.
Okay, I see more people wanting to respond because of Jose saying that. I see Shauna and Samantha wanting to respond to that. Sketch, should we do that? And also Jeffrey now. Wow.
Well,
You
we're
open?
50 minutes on the first topic. Like, I'll leave it up to you. But
Okay,
I think
quick responses maybe each, like really quickly each one.
I think we could do a quick fire. That could work perfectly. I also want to give time for the super chats because these are wonderful donors. We love you, super chatters. We love you. Okay, I'm gonna go rapid fire. Let you get 30 seconds in there. Go ahead, Shauna.
I just want to say the South Africans, it's actually basically the Boers are more or less being genocided. Babies have been boiled alive. It's not okay. What's happening to them? Just the end.
All right, go ahead, Samantha.
Samantha, is she speaking? I don't have any idea. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I feel obligated to yell that what Jose said was wrong, but I honestly don't know what's going on in South Africa to know what is happening.
Okay, so you don't know
Okay.
what's happening, but the emotional baggage that you have with the the leftist communist cult makes you feel like you need to say that it's wrong. I understand that. Okay.
And last to respond on this, we have Jeff. Wait, let me see if there's another two. No,
Oh,
I think that's the last.
Wait, can I
You
just
missed my
appreciate?
two. Oh no, Cherry. Cherry also.
Wait,
I'm
can I
sorry.
appreciate Samantha just gave a thumbs up, which means that she acknowledges that she Samantha, you are very self-aware of the emotional demons that are hunting you, and I congratulate you for that. Of being that level of self-awareness is really hard to come by. So good job. All right, sorry, Sketch, I interrupted you.
I missed Cherry. I'm very sorry, Cherry. Please go.
I just had two quick comments, and you can erase my number one that I had. First of all, I think the best way to affect people in the US is if somebody made an AI video that literally showed what the world would look like if Iran, the Islamic regime, had a nuclear weapon. Unfortunately, we are too visual, but I think that would be a bonus to help. And the other comment I wanted to make was when we were talking about rent, if you see what happened in New York under Madami, first he did is he froze rent. He froze it. So you cannot up your rent. And then he increased property taxes by 10%, which means the people who own property, you're not allowed to up your rent, but at the same time, they're going to up your taxes. It's a game. It's a shell game, and it's a horrible way to.
It's theft.
Exactly. Thank you.
It would force people to sell, and the people who sell would have to pay a sales tax on that. It when property tax is used in this way, it's a way to force people to sell. They keep increasing it and the property tax until there's no way for you to breathe and keep land. So you have to sell. You don't have an out. I think that might be some of what's going on there. And if you have to sell and he gets a bunch of property tax from that sell, he can put that as a win in his coffers.
Well, his end game is to take private property and demolish it.
Socialize it.
Yeah, he wants the government to own land and own property and not individuals.
Absolutely.
That's his end game, and this was a beautiful way for him.
Yep, he's trying to do that.
And a beautiful way for him to try and meet that goal.
All right. I agree. And with that, we're going to go to Jeff. Jeff, closes out, please.
Oh, yeah. So what Alexia is saying is, again, this isn't tragically a one-off. This very much finds its origins in Soviet active measures that disproportionately supported people and terrorists like Mandela, the ANC, and the terrorist arm of the ANC, Umkhonto We Says We, or the Spear of the Nation. I'm probably mispronouncing that, including the mass campaign of Soviet-backed and in many cases materially supported terrorist operations all throughout Africa, like Operation Mai Bouye, the Church Street bombings. I posted in the link or the chat. This is when Mandela was singing the anthem of the Spear of the Nation on slaughtering all the whites. There's a more current version of that guy. His name is, what is it? I'm going to fuck this up. Julia Malema. He's very much a pretty brutal guy. There's another guy. He was actually, this is one of the reasons why President Trump did what he did with regards to South Africa. Me and a couple others actually played a role in it. That guy was actually chanting about how, his militants to over 10,000 people all uniformed up, how they need to chase down, rape, and murder like white people's children. They're like fucked up people. I mean, it doesn't mean the apartheid government was good. The apartheid government was fucked up, and it's, in many ways, I'm glad it's gone. And that doesn't mean Mandela was a good dude. I mean, these guys are fucked up, and indeed, they have direct organization, operational ties, like the ANC and all the rest of them, with any number of hostile state actors, who include Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, Chinese Communist Party, and elements out of the Mullah regime.
I also remember something about Winnie Mandela's necklaces, where they would put a tire around people's neck and light it on fire so they would die. You know about that stuff. Yes, it's brutal. Revenge is not justice.
Didn't we have just recently a major politician in South Africa campaign promise being that they will kill the whites or something like that? Like publicly, just
the boys. Yes.
That's
Yes,
the one I was
absolutely.
talking about, the chanting
Yes.
they were doing. And not
Like,
for
he
nothing.
public-
the
like he
vast
didn't. It
majority-
wasn't like he wasn't even hiding it. Like he just explicitly said it, right?
Not only did he explicitly said it, he chanted it and made songs about it and sang it in a stadium full of people singing along. Like if you see the videos of the stadium, it's people when they say kill the boy, they're talking about kill the white guys. That's what they're chanting in a stadium. We're talking like, I wouldn't know if this is as big as an American stadium, but it's a stadium. It's like a soccer stadium full of people chanting that's what they want to do. And it's a redistribution oppressor narrative that they're using for this vengeance. It's not justice, it's vengeance. And with that, we got to go to super chats.
And it's not only that, it's interesting because Western leftists deny that like the fact that they try so hard to that's even happening, show that they think that you can't even be racist against white people because they deny something that is so publicly available for people to just go and watch and see.
Crosses and all that stuff. You can see the dead bodies. There's lots of numbers to back this up. Jeffrey wanted like a last
real quickly, just to kind of show how full of shit the left really is. Like the vast majority of the people that were killed in Operation Mayabuye and the mass terror campaigns under the kinetic arm of the ANC were actually blacks in South Africa. And indeed, Mandela, even after South Africa was liberated from the apartheid government, went out of his way to, through policy, kill and punish Zulu who supported our side, not the least of which was denying them medical care to leverage HIV to kill them. These people are absolute scum, and it's no wonder that they have ties to the Mullah regime.
Right. They're not just racist against whites. They're like, this is like they're genocidal against white people in South Africa. And by the way, Alexa, please stay safe. Alexa seems to be under a lot of threats and danger in South Africa. So stay safe. Okay, Sketch. We're doing super chats?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because we went from all of a sudden we jumped to 6 super chats now. So thank you, everybody. Fleshy Interloper saying, what? No super chats? So that was the first one. Thanks to Fleshy, we got our first one. Thank you so much for that. And then Sarah with the second super chat saying, here's one. Love you, Armin. Thank you. Well, thank you too, Sarah. I appreciate that. And then we have Stick and Beans saying 2 out of 10, but he or she was just a little bit late. So instead of being 2 out of 10, it ended up being 3 out of 10. And thank you for that. And Stick and Beans again with another super chat saying, and the wise last speaker said, I agree. Many people buy financial commitments. I think you're talking about Sophie, sorry. Sophie saying, as the wise last speaker said, I agree. Many people buy financial commitments, huge trucks, etc., mainly because of social pressure. I prefer life relaxed and happy regardless of profession I have or not. Well, that's a good philosophy to have. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Chill life. Yeah, I think it's pretty easy. Just spend less than you make. I think it's a very simple rule that I don't know why it's hard for people to follow. Just spend less than you make. That's all. That's okay. And then Fleshy, thank you so much for the super chat saying New York will lose rental properties. Yeah, I mean, this is okay. So yes, a lot of people don't understand what the simple solution to property prices are. I think it's very simple, and I think like a lot of you might disagree with me. The solution is more supply. How do you get more supply? You remove regulations. You just let people build by removing regulation. That's how you fix property prices. You don't fix property prices. In fact, you make property prices and long term even worse by forcing people, by deciding for people what they do with their own private property, by telling people that this is how much you get to charge rent. You're basically telling people to invest less in property because it's not as profitable to have property. Guess what happens when people invest less in property? People are going to build less property, rental properties. Guess what happens when people build less rental property? Eventually prices go back up, a lot up. So short term, people think like, oh my God, free, like lower rents. But long term, because people end up building less, you're going to have less supply. And it's the simple rules of economics. Less supply means higher prices. So yeah, because less building. If it's not profitable, there will be less buildings. Fleshy interloper. These are simple economics, by the way, guys. This is why socialism and communism just violates basic laws of economics. Fleshy interloper saying, thank you so much again, Fleshy, for the super chat, saying, are there still a lot of Cubans in Africa? Oh, Jose, do you have the answer to that? Are there still a lot of Cubans in Africa?
That's debatable. I don't know for sure. I know there's the people that were in the South American countries that are starting to turn have been returning to Cuba. Africa, I don't know. I don't know if what ended the Cuban invasion of Congo and Angola, and the other one I can't think of right now, was the AIDS epidemic. Okay, because they came back with the AIDS epidemic. So you guys, I think that it's okay to go to Cuba and pick up a young lady of the evening. Welcome to AIDS.
Oh, welcome to AIDS. Well, thank that didn't go where I thought it would go. Okay. Well, that was okay. Well, thank you. Okay. And
I'll
then
look up more
say what?
information for you. I'll look for better information for you. I just don't have anything on that one.
Oh, okay. No, I was just joking around. Okay, so we got the last super chat. Thank you so much, Dominic Spencer, saying FIFA just revoked tickets for Iran to sell to fans. What? What's your take on this? I'm thinking IRGC was going to sell only to pro-regime fans. Thoughts? Oh my God, I didn't know about this. This is fantastic. If it's true, yeah, because they shouldn't be. You shouldn't give them the selection. I'm not following what's happening with FIFA and the Islamic Republic team. But if this is true, let me look into this. So yes, the Iranian Football Federation announced that its 8% official World Cup ticket allocation was abruptly revoked. Iran is publicly blaming the United States as the co-host for politically interfering and blocking their fans just days before the tournament kicks off. Iran had already started selling these tickets through their own channels, leaving fans who book travel completely stranded. Okay, this is good. If the Islamic Republic is upset about this, then I'm happy about this. I think they probably were being selective regarding only allowing pro-regime people, more pro-regime people to buy these tickets. So if they're being political with who they're selling these tickets to, then that's a good move. So I'm happy with that. And thank you for bringing this to our attention. It's good to know this. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my take is that this is good. If the regime is upset, then this is good. And thank you for the super chat. Okay, so let's go to the next topic.
I would just like to say that what you say is very true in an unleveraged market, but because the topic is New York, they are also taking the people's taxes and taking illegal immigrants and putting them in these rental places at the cost of the taxpayer. So that's called Section 8 housing. They also take these people and put them up in hotels with the taxpayer money and then move them to Section 8 housing. So this creates a bubble in which it's hard. Like, even if you create more houses, those houses are going to be occupied by either people who directly cater to the state because they know it's an easy way to get that, but it's very, very leveraged. So your property taxes go up, and the new homes, they get given to this leveraged market, these illegal immigrants, 5-star hotels. That's very correct. So it becomes impossible for everything to balance itself out because of what you pointed out, that the market is leveraged by socialist and Marxist interests. I just wanted to make that comment for the New Yorkers before they yell at me.
I also want to confirm, Sketch, that like one thing you said before is completely very true. They're not being stupid about any of this. They're actually very smart. They understand completely what they're doing. So it's not because these people fail to understand economics, is that they do understand that their voter base maybe doesn't understand economics, and they're taking advantage of the fact that this is going to bring more people who will vote more people like them in. So if you think that these people are retarded, think again. They know exactly what they're doing, and politically, this is very much in their favor. They're basically trying to demographically re-engineer the population.
They're using tax money to bring in a voter base and house them.
Exactly.
All right. Next topic we have here is from Noah, and he wants to talk about the Apache Down.
Harris put a 2 in the chat. Do you want to quickly see that?
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, I wanted to mention about that. You know, like how refugees are being housed all across like Canada. They're staying in hotels. By the way, this actually process of hosting refugees in hotels and stuff, this is actually defined by United Nations and not necessarily the country. So this is a process that's defined by the United Nations. If you are part of the United Nations, you need to follow this process, and by the way, they have a huge number of cases, right? So the UN will choose randomly which country they'll send certain refugees to. And then those refugees need to be housed in a hotel if there's no accommodation available. So this is actually a United Nations process. So I just wanted to clarify.
All right. Any country that submits to the United Nations is a traitor to the people. The United States has not submitted to any other countries since 1770.
Well, I mean, England is doing the same. Canada literally is doing the exact same. Australia
okay.
is doing the same. New Zealand's doing the same.
That doesn't negate my point. Like, just because they all betray their nations for this UN does not mean that I am incorrect about the fact that they are betraying their nations and blaming the UN.
Of course. I mean, I can agree with you on that one. I'm just telling you what the process actually comes.
All right. Well, we have a system where you put a 1, you put your topic, you reply. I put a 2. You see my 2 over there? I reply. Yeah. Now we're going to mute ourselves, and we're going to... Should I keep going on the topic? We've been on this.
Yeah.
No, that's... I'm done.
No, let's go. Let's go to the next topic. Yeah. But thank you, Aris.
Apache Down is the next topic by Noah. Go ahead, Noah. And I need everyone to... Please. Noah, go ahead.
Thank you. So, as I think everyone knows at this point, the Islamic regime shot down they shot down an Apache helicopter today. Thankfully, the 2 people that were in the helicopter survived and were rescued by a drone. But this was recently reported by ABC News. They said, and I'll put what I found, Armin. They said that ABC News is saying that the Islamic regime shot down the helicopter with a drone. So this is interesting right here, but I know probably you wanted to talk about this first, Armin, since President Trump has said that he wants to respond to this. He said there will be a response, but I'm wondering how big the response will be because they survived usually, or if there had been deaths, maybe there would be a bigger response. So I don't know, but regardless, we're great. I'm great. At least I'm speaking for everyone. I'm grateful that the pilot and the other person there survived. Downing.
Yeah, actually, I'm so glad that you brought this up, and yeah, thank you for saying that. I think you are. That's true that you are reflecting what most of us are thinking here. a lot of people are now expecting the United States to respond and respond strong. And I don't know if there's not a strong response. It's going to be very difficult to continue with the narrative that of the President Trump is going to push back hard against the Islamic Republic, and him and Bibi are completely aligned, and that this is all just mind games and good cop bad cop, because this was a direct attack on Americans with the goal of killing these 2 American soldiers. So they expect, I don't know what you guys think. Two questions. Do you think there's going to be a very strong response? And what is it that we need to say if there is not? I mean, maybe we should just wait until we see what happens and not talk about that until it happens. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Just really want to see what you guys are saying. Okay, Texas Troop in the chat is saying CNN has a third source saying it was a Shahed drone. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Shahed drones. Okay. So thank you, Texas Troop. But can people put 2s in the chat and let me know what you think about the American response to this, what it's going to be, and why? And Sketch, I would like to hear your views on this as well because you're modding. You could go ahead before.
All right, my view on this, on the response. I don't know if we're holding back for a funeral. People will say, hey, Trump wouldn't bomb a funeral. Obama bombed the wedding. I don't know if we do that. I don't know. I mean, they might expect we wouldn't do that, but that would be the best time to do it then. I mean, I'm just saying that might be what's holding us back. As far as a reply to this, yes, we would respond. I don't know if it would be a full response, especially if we have other plans that we're waiting on. My personal stance on this, I support Trump. I'm not like a Trump worshiper. Like, I would like this to go faster, and this is just more reason for it to go faster. But tactically, why did a helicopter get hit by a Shahed? Why are Shaheds still flying during a ceasefire? Why are you accepting this as a so-called ceasefire? Do they not have control of these people? Like, how can you say it's still a ceasefire while these people are firing? Either you're just letting them walk all over you during this ceasefire, or they are telling you, hey, I don't control those guys. This is the mosaic, and they all claim to be IRGC. They all claim to be for the IRGC, but some of them are actually aligning more with the clerics, and we have this problem that we're not showing anyone, but it's really there. I don't know enough about Iran internal politics to know if that's a possibility. Personally, I want the strikes to go yesterday. If I'm going to be the kindest, I would say maybe they're waiting on some intel to hit. That's like my 2 corners. I'm like, I want it to be done yesterday. Best case scenarios, they're waiting for something very specific. I don't believe a deal is going to happen. Also, if anybody's wondering, how do you eject from a helicopter? Well, you eject the rotor blades first. You have the rotor blades automatically disassemble first. They kind of like rocket out, and then the seats go out. So that's how they survive. I would love to hear from Jeff next, because he probably has some insight that we can all learn from. So I want you to go ahead here, please. I hate to volunteer you, but if you can, please.
Thanks. I'll do my best, brother. So yeah, Sketch is right about how you eject safely from helicopters. They'll blow their blades off, and then you'll be ejected out of the aircraft if they has an ejection seat. Apaches do. Last I checked. So yeah, what happened? You had a Apache was down, on June the 8th. So that's yesterday. They were rescued at 7:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday. They're in the water for roughly 2 hours. It was off the coast of Oman, near the Strait of Hormuz. It was conducting routine maritime patrol. Why is that important? It means that the Mullah regime remnants fired upon our aircraft even when it was not engaged in offensive operations, and it was near Oman, not the Mullah, like mullah occupied Iran. That means this is like a willing thing on their part. I would contend it underwrites that. It's the first loss of an Apache ever. So President Trump's statement is, I have just been informed about our great military that last night the Iranians, he should say the mullah regime, not that I'm telling you what to say, just, I make it a point to add mullah regime out of respect for Iranians who are not represented by the regime that occupies Iran. Was shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling the Strait of Hormuz. There are 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must of necessity respond to this attack. So where is it that we're at right now? Well, first we used a sea drone. I mean, that's kind of sexy. I know, if you want to go down and give you a rundown of what we used. Where things are right now, here's what open intelligence shows. That we have heightened KC-135s in the area. And what that tells me is you put those up when you're getting, so there are reports of increased U.S. Air Force tanker activities, KC-135s, and similar over the Middle East and Persian Gulf today. And that's consistent with heightened alert and posturing, albeit it's also what you would need to sit there and carry out mass strikes or responses, right? Because you want to be able to fuel all your strike aircraft and everything else. I'm betting that there's going to be a response. They're probably picking out where there's a lot of different people, generals, General Kane, a couple others on Fox News today, a couple others in like the Institute for Study of War, all these other people that are pushing for a very aggressive response that targets the IRGC leadership and kills them fucking dead. I'm one of those people, like pushing for a maximal response so that they're all gone. Like, that's the best I can offer right now.
All right. Thank you very much. Next to respond on this topic, Shauna.
Real quick, so I'm supportive of whatever the military and the president decide to do. I will say that what this looks like to me as somebody who's not an expert is I feel like we're being baited into something, which actually indicates to me that our draining efforts are actually working. So like the cutting them off, because it seems like they want to bait us. Psychologically, I think what they're trying to do is bait us in so that we drain some of our resources as well. I don't know if that'll work on their part. I could be wrong, but that was my first thought, and something I just kind of wanted to put out there is I do wonder if this is like a bait tactic. So
Very possible. With this, we move on to host.
Jose? Oh, he's not behind his computer.
All right. We're going to put him in next after Noah.
Yeah, very quickly, I just wanted to say, I think President Trump has to respond hard to this. I mean, they were trying to kill our boys. They were trying to kill our pilots. So if we don't respond hard, they want to break the ceasefire. They want war again. I think we all know that at this point. So there needs to, we need to respond hard to this. It'd be weakness if we didn't. That's just my 2 cents.
Optics. I understand that. All right. And Guy, we would like to hear what you have to say about all this, Guy. You're a smart guy. Go ahead, Guy.
So for the record, I was volunteered for this. I'm going against my own will.
You're being a pro.
That said, I do have something to say. So Armin, I disagree that a small attack now would make it hard to interpret it as Trump still is wanting to go hard on them eventually. It's just that you don't want them to set the schedule. I would expect if there are strikes that are going to happen some point in the near future. Now, if it's in the far future, then you do need to strike, at least make like a medium strike or something along those lines. But if it's in the near future, let's say after FIFA, then you can do a small strike now, for example, much like Israel did, strike at their defenses and their like radars, anti-air, and so on, in preparation for that strike. So I just happen to have it in front of me on screen. So the chief of staff in the IDF said that the strike that we conducted on Iran was in preparation for a much heavier and more meaningful blow. And so I would imagine that if that is in the cards for the US, the retaliation now would be something similar. So something that would be against the defensive capabilities, and it might appear weak, but that is because it's in preparation for the actual real strike that'll happen in, let's say, a week's time.
So
again, if it's longer, if he's going all the way until after the midterms, then I would expect at least like a medium strike, something that they wouldn't break the rules over, but that would send a message.
So
if it's closer,
that doesn't actually negate. You say you disagree, but that doesn't negate what I'm saying. Okay, let me explain, because I understand why, for example, the argument that President Trump has his own timetable and it's not going to let the Islamic Republic dictate when we're going to go to full head-to-head confrontational war, back to that. And maybe because President Trump has his own timetable, this will be a response that would just be a response, and that will happen exactly when President Trump wants it to happen. I understand that, but that doesn't negate the point that this is going to be hard to sell. The idea, like when it comes to talking to people and trying to defend President Trump, if the response is not strong, it would be a hard selling point by that point. People are going to be like, fuck it, what the hell, not even after this, you're not responding very hard. So from a narrative perspective, you might have that interpretation, but convincing people of that interpretation after this happened will become difficult. Do you agree?
You're right. Optically, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Last to respond on this would be Jeff. I would add that if after this you just wait and then bomb a wedding, it'll be like, wow, that was pretty hard.
Yeah, for
not, funeral. My bad. Not wedding, funeral. Obama does the weddings. We can do the funerals.
Okay, so for people who are new here and might not understand the sarcastic tone of Sketch, Sketch is not in favor of bombing funerals or weddings. He's basically attacking Obama and what he did when he was president. Okay, so we're not here. None of us here are for bombing weddings or funerals, right? Right, Sketch, right? Say right.
I will neither confirm or deny.
You're making this very difficult. We're streaming on YouTube, right?
YouTube, we would send flowers. Very, very nice and heavy flowers.
Why are you doing this to me?
No. I mean, I get what you mean. You're absolutely right. Obama was a very bad person. You shouldn't strike weddings. It's a very bad thing to do.
And funerals, Sketch, and funerals.
And Sketch is just saying we're going to send him a dozen black roses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those who are Italian know what I mean.
So just to be clear with the funeral, we are in support of Americans and Israelis finding specific targets within the funerals of people affiliated with the Islamic Republic and taking them out. Okay, so obviously
I believe this was done before.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're in favor of, but we're not in favor of like just bombing an entire funeral. Obviously, we're not in favor of it. Sorry, Jeffrey.
Oh, no.
I was
no worries. So Guy is I see where Guy was going with that. Like, would do shaping operations. That's what the Israelis are doing, centering on seed and other things, so that they can then have a free range to do other things later on. And so, like, that's what would the likely targets possibly be in our, if like for the immediate response? I'll give you a priority 4 of them: priority, target type, likelihood. So there's a high degree, I can say with a high degree of human certainty, there's a high degree of probability the target types in part might be IRGC, Navy fast attack crafts, and bases. Specific examples would be bases near Bandar Abbas, Abu Musa. I'm just using that as an example, not naming a specific target. Why this target? Because these are the main targets to shipping and U.S. patrols. The likelihood of the first response is probably pretty high. It's very high. I can say with a high degree of certainty that another target list would be drone launch and storage sites, coastal facilities in southern Iran, particularly near Hormuz. That wouldn't surprise me. Likely, and the reason being is that was likely the method used to down the Apache. Likelihood in the first response is very high. So medium to high priority, I could say, would probably be coastal radar and surveillance sites, because they could have tracked and supported the attack. Likelihood in the first response is high. Medium priority would be IRGC command nodes. This is if the, like a limited response in preparation for a bigger campaign. It would be local IRGC naval or drone command posts in the Hormuz area, probably leadership tied to the operations in the Strait. The likelihood of that is probably medium to high. So those are kind of like, just to flesh out what Guy said. I kind of see where you're going. Hopefully that kind of like puts a little more like garnish on that plate. That's kind of what I would see. Like, I could see that happening. We have KC-135 surging in the area, which means what it means.
Okay. Sketch?
I think with that, we're closing that topic. I would like to know if we have any super chats.
We don't have any super chats, but we had Texas Troop a comment. I just want to leave that. She's saying, I personally think Trump needs to hit above quote unquote proportional response levels. So that's what Texas Troop thinks. Just wanted to highlight that. And okay, and
I
Jeffrey's
would
back.
agree.
Okay.
Next topic we have from Rasham: Hezbollah's significance to the IRGC and why their demise signals the end of the IRGC.
Wait, say that again. Sorry, that was interesting.
Hezbollah's significance to the IRGC and why their demise.
Okay, that's good enough. I'll just have that. All right, let's do that.
Go ahead, Rasham. Oh my God, I wrote your name wrong. Raham.
I'm looking, I'm like, that's my topic, but that's not my name.
Somebody stole your topic. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so it's I've been thinking, a lot of people have been wondering why Trump stopped in the middle of the attacks and everything happening, and obviously while they were attacking, Israel was helping them out a lot. And I just had a perspective I wanted to get your thoughts on. What if there was a shift in narrative and these guys basically thought, we'll pretend like there's a ceasefire, we'll start to drain the RGC economically by the blockades and everything, while Israel decapitates or disables Hezbollah on their end. Because if you take out Hezbollah, IRGC is done. It's their poster child. It's their first proxy. I remember even growing up as a kid in Iran. I lived there till I was 12. And Hezbollah and IRGC were basically one and the same. They're used interchangeably inside Iran for the most part. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, and what if that was kind of the plan, and all this talk of, don't hit them by Trump, and all the fake fighting between him and Netanyahu is just that. It's just basically a front wall, and behind closed doors, that was kind of the plan all along, to just cripple the IRGC. And Armin, I want to talk about this yesterday. It didn't happen, and I listened to your explanation on the Persian channel, and it was beautiful. So sorry if it sounds like I'm kind of stealing some of the points, but yeah, I've had that thought, and it kind of makes sense for them to have had that planned from before, just in case, that was kind of phase 1. This is phase 2, and then phase 3 is just total collapse. But yeah, love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the internal politics within all the three countries, that strategy makes sense. Everything everybody is doing would make fit what works best for them, given what they're dealing with back at home, right? So, from the Islamic Republic's perspective, their proxies is one of their only three remaining deterrence capabilities. Like most of it has been destroyed. They only have the Strait of Hormuz, the enriched uranium, which they cannot really use right now. And the proxies are the only thing that they could go at the negotiating table, because they kind of removed the enriched uranium as part of the negotiating items. I mean, at least they pretend like they have done. So when they go negotiate, what can they bring to the table to as leverage against the other side? Is basically where the attacks on the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf continuing or not continuing, and the attacks on Israel continuing or not continuing, and the bubble mandab being closed or not closed, right? And all of that requires the Islamic Republic to have somewhat of a control over its proxies. And if it's not loyal to its proxies, if it's not defending its proxies, if it's not praying its proxies, then the Islamic Republic really doesn't have much leverage at the negotiating table with the United States. You need to, like, what can I even, like, everything will be dictated to it if it doesn't even have anything to offer, right? So you need to be able to attack Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia. You need to be able to continue to attack Israel. And given that the Islamic Republic itself doesn't, Hezbollah is the main way for the Islamic Republic to be able to attack Israel, so that it could offer not attacking it in return of receiving something at the negotiating table. That's how you have leverage, right? And the Islamic Republic is really terrified of losing that leverage, especially because not only their revenue has dropped, their liquidity has dropped also because of Scott Bessent closing down all the financial loopholes, cryptocurrency, financial institutions, shell companies that the Islamic Republic is using to get money to their proxy groups. A lot of that is being stopped. Not having the UAE, which was the main way the Islamic Republic moved money, the financial institutions, the UAE, not having them anymore is making it very difficult to get these proxies paid. So these proxies are becoming less and less loyal to the Islamic Republic. And not only that, just like you said, by the way, all the other proxies of the Islamic Republic look at how Islamic Republic treats Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is their favorite child. So if they're being thrown under the bus, they're like, okay, well, then we're fucked. If Hezbollah is being left behind, what are the chances that we are? This is why, by the way, the Houthis are somewhat of a no-show. The Islamic Republic has desperately been trying to get the Houthis to close the bubble mandab, and so far they haven't been doing much. And I think that the Houthis feel not as confident in the support from the Islamic Republic as they used to. So maybe that's why they are. That's why they're not basically following through with the orders. The Islamic Republic keeps threatening that we can close the bubble mandab. So far, I mean, if you could have, you would have done it already, right? Like, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for them to kill your supreme leader? Like, oops, I mean, they already did that. Like, what else could they do, right? Like, you had that in your back pocket and you didn't use it in response to killing your supreme leader. So I think that they can't. It's the reason why they're not doing it is because they can't. And if they can't, it means that they're losing their loyalty of their proxies. This is why probably they sent Ghani to Iraq to get the proxy groups in Iraq to attack maybe Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. But Saudi Arabia has a secret deal with the Islamic Republic to get attacked less right now, even though they still do get attacked. So I think that maybe Kuwait will be more of a target from the Iraqi militia groups. Anyways, this is not working really well for the Islamic Republic because the United States is less eager to care about the Arab countries being attacked compared to before. So Israel is more of a red line, and Americans are obviously being attacked are the ultimate red line. This is why, because compared to other proxies, Hezbollah is right next to Israel, and Israel is more of an issue for the United States than the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf. That's why this proxy is so important. If you want to pressure United States, the best way is to attack Israel and then offer not to do so in return of getting a more favorable deal. So from the United States perspective, I mean, if we all agree that this is good cop, bad cop, then it would be the most, a genius move, because you get to say to Netanyahu to stop attacking Hezbollah, and then you could also tell him to just go ahead and do it anyways, even if I'm asking you to stop. This way, it's a win-win-win for both. Like Netanyahu gets to defy Trump and hit Hezbollah and be like, look, we're making our own decisions. Nobody's going to stop us. And President Trump gets to play good cop, bad cop with the IRGC, say like, look, I'm trying to stop them, but I can't really control them. You need to give me like, I'm the good cop here. Those are the crazy. This is the game that both the Islamic Republic and United States are playing with each other, right? So the Islamic Republic is telling Trump, like, probably, this is what I imagine, that like Ghalibaf is probably telling Trump, like, look, I want to give you all the enriched uranium. Okay, I want to basically stop funding all the proxies. But look at these Durka, these crazy people. My hands are tied. I cannot, like, they will eat me alive. If I give this to you, it will be the end of me. So I can't. You need to be more flexible with me. And I think President Trump is more effectively playing the same game with them, saying like, look, I want to control Israel, but if you don't do this, like, I can't control him. I tried to stop him. He's going to come at you. You have to do this or just do that, or else, or else Israel will do this and that, right? You're like, oh, look at this. The Jews are controlling everything in United States. Like, you believe that, right? So they control so much of my politics, and I can't, like, they, if you don't do this, then they have this much impact in my internal politics, and I have to basically make them happy. I have to make the Israelis happy, right? I mean, their own narratives that the Islamic Republic is spreading. So the Islamic Republic is really interested in constantly saying that President Trump was fooled by the Israelis and he entered a war that he cannot finish. They dragged him into a war that was not in the best interest of America. That's the narrative that the Islamic Republic keeps pushing. And then, but if you believe that narrative, then okay, then you need to make the Israelis happy if they're the boss here. So you can't just give you can't just offer the Americans what they want. You need to give Trump something that makes the Israelis happy as well, which means that on the negotiating table, the maximalist demands of the United States is something that the Islamic Republic has to give into. So everybody is playing their cards right, actually, to be fair, like even to the Islamic Republic, they know that they have to convince the Hezbollah that they're there for them. They need to convince the regime supporters that they are responding strongly to Israel and that they're defiant and strong. But at the same time, they need to convince President Trump that wasn't really bad. Like, we didn't kill anybody in Israel. That was just a symbolic thing that we had to do to keep these people off of our back. You know that we have to do this, so please don't get off our back and stop your boy Netanyahu Bibi. Hold him back as well. And President Trump be like, I'll hold him back, but then you need to do this. And I think maybe it's true that Bibi and President Trump are completely aligned on this, and this has all been pre-planned. That is possible. And if it is, it's like genius, because Bibi will get what he wants for his internal politics. President Trump not only gets to play good cop, bad cop with the Islamic Republic, but internally, some voters have been convinced by these anti-Israeli bullshit in United States that that President Trump is being controlled by Bibi. This would demonstrate to them that no, United States is making their own decisions, and they're trying for peace. Many Americans are interested in President Trump doing everything possible to not escalate. So this way, President Trump could show to his domestic audience that he's doing everything he possibly can not to escalate. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. And also, this makes President Trump be able to, if he is planning to go back to full-on head-to-head kinetic military operations, then he does it at the time after the midterms, or maybe after FIFA. I don't know. Basically whatever time he has in mind, rather than letting Hezbollah and IRGC drag him, because that would be the better. Like, a lot of pro-regime people inside Iran have predicted that President Trump is basically planning to attack eventually, but at his own time, and the Islamic Republic shouldn't let that happen. It would be if it's inevitable that we're going to go to war, we should make the Islamic Republic dictate the time of that rather than United States. Because if it happens based on their time, their timing, then it will be favorable. The time will be favorable to United States. So the Islamic Republic needs to start the war earlier, because whoever dictates the time of when the war starts will be able to schedule it based on the time that works better for them. So some people within the Islamic Republic are trying to put pressure on the Islamic Republic to start the war earlier and not let the Americans decide when this starts, given that this is inevitable. I don't know. Did I even answer your question, Raham?
Yeah, you did for sure. And the interesting thing is that with the fight kind of continuing at the Hezbollah front, it's controlled the markets tremendously while the fight's actually been going on. So Trump has been manipulating the markets, especially for oil, to basically say, "Oh, look, there's a deal coming. There's a deal coming. There's a deal coming," while essentially his allies are hammering crap out of Hezbollah. So I'm leaning more and more towards how like this was probably somewhat pre-planned, and he's thought about the markets because he's a businessman. And I mean, nobody thought that the markets would respond the way they did after the war started. And I think that's why that's one of the reasons why he keeps saying there's a deal coming, there's a deal coming, there's a deal coming. So
yeah, I mean, he's very
100% did.
He's very effectively communicating that he wants a deal and he doesn't want war, which might be his way of keeping the markets calm until after the midterms, because he doesn't want the negative effect of that on the midterms. It might, if he is doing that, he's playing it very well, to the point that we can't tell what's really happening. Like if that is what President Trump is doing, like this is genuine, like 5D, 10D, I don't know, 500D chess. And I guess we'll find out after the midterms.
I put myself in because I have more of like a question for you in all this. I'm going to try to summarize this kind of like that one more take, that elevator pitch. What is going on here? So Hezbollah is IRGC's first child. That first one. He gets the most attention. He gets the most love. They really love Hezbollah. It's their first baby, right? He's now a grown-ass teenager, and he's doing very, very bad things, right? But they still protect him. They still try to give him the best stuff. They don't. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me turn that off. Te llaman un segundo, por favor. Dame un segundo. Te llamo ahora. They try to give them the best stuff, but that's their baby over there, right? And you know what? They're having the ceasefire. Trump is over here saying, "Oh, we're having a ceasefire here," but my cousin Bibi's over there kicking your kid's ass, beating him down. He said, "No, we're at peace. We're at peace. It's not that it was my plan the whole time to take your kid behind the woodshed and just whip him until he's going into a coma and then maybe jail. No. We have ceasefire. We have peace." Nothing going on, nothing to look at, but the plan the whole time was to destroy Hezbollah. So every proxy says, "Damn, if they got Hezbollah like that, I don't even want to know what's coming to me." You understand what I mean? Like they're making an example out of that first child during the ceasefire. Like the whole point of the ceasefire not being the ceasefire, the whole point of the ceasefire is letting Israel go whip the living dog stuffing out of Hezbollah during his ceasefire. Has this been happening the whole ceasefire? Has this been a ceasefire war? Is that why they call it the ceasefire war? Because the whole ceasefire, it's just been Hezbollah getting their teeth kicked in. Is that what's going on here? Is the ceasefire not even a ceasefire? It's just we're having a war with Hezbollah and we're not directly participating.
Well, I mean, from the Israeli perspective, you have a ceasefire between United States and the Islamic Republic. What does that got to do with us? We don't have a ceasefire with anybody. Yeah,
I agree.
And also to demonstrate how much the Islamic Republic loves Hezbollah. Okay, let me tell you this: the Islamic Republic loves the Lebanese people who are part of Hezbollah or support Hezbollah. They love them more than, get this, pro-regime Iranians. So back in Iran, like in Iran, if the Islamic Republic, if they had to choose between pro-regime Iranians in the capital in Iran and pro-Hezbollah Lebanese people, they are more in love with the pro-Hezbollah Lebanese people. And I'm not exaggerating, and we have proof for this. Here's the proof. When people in Lebanon who are pro-Shia people in Shias in Lebanon, when their houses gets destroyed, the Islamic Republic builds houses for them in Lebanon. But when pro-regime, not just anti-regime or not just like neutral people, when pro-regime people inside Iran lose their homes because of Israeli or American attacks, they get nothing. They get nothing. So so much of Iran's wealth has been spent on building houses for Hezbollah people in Lebanon, and they don't do that. Like, forget the average Iranian people. Of course they don't care about it. They hate the average Iranian people. But even for the pro-regime Iranian people, they don't provide those services to them. That's how much they love Hezbollah, which is insane. It's crazy. And this is why we call this a foreign occupation. And this is why we say not only the Islamic Republic is a foreign occupation of Iran, I have tried to make it trending to call it a Palestinian occupation of Iran. The Islamic Republic is a Palestinian occupation. The Palestinian cause basically the axis of resistance, a Palestinian occupation of Iran. But yeah, go on, Sketch.
I would agree. And next with this, we have Jose. Jose, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah. Multiple things here. Jeff, I was going to ask him a question, but he answered it. Guys, let's be realistic here as far as what's coming up. They've been trying to go Trump all last night. First by attacking the American Air Force base in Saudi Arabia, then by attacking the American bases in Iraq, and then finally the helicopter. They're trying to kill an American, period. That's plain as day, period. Now, with that said, okay, I don't know how soon. I frankly don't care how soon. This has been a mind game between the two negotiating powers. I will agree, Armin, Israel is not part of the negotiation because the Muslim influenced government of Iraq is not recognizing Israel. So why should they negotiate with them? And by wanting Israel not to attack Hamas and that target, okay, but not to negotiate directly with Israel, is good enough reason for me to tell Bibi to beat the fuck out of.
By Iraq, you mean Lebanon? When you said Iraq?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Okay. To let them go ahead and beat the heck out of them. And I don't care about Beirut. You know, I really don't care about Beirut. If on the way there, the American bombers that are going to be following what Jeffrey was thinking about they should do, accidentally drop one on that building. Oh, well. You know, we've been accused of accidentally hitting a school of children. Still to this day, that's come up on the forum. So, yeah, why not? Let them have it. And I did find out that answer you wanted about the Cuban soldiers in Africa. They came out in 1990 for health reasons, officially.
Cool. All right. So, Sketch?
Last response on this is Guy.
Okay.
So a couple of interesting points on the Iran-Israel angle of this. I was shocked when the Iranians said that any strike on southern Lebanon, like they increased the wager. They said, don't strike Beirut. And we struck Beirut. And they struck us. And they said, we're ending it now, but if you strike southern Lebanon, we're going to strike again. But they had to know that we're going to strike southern Lebanon, which we have repeatedly since then. And they haven't responded, and I don't see them responding. So I don't understand what the thinking behind that empty threat was. Did they actually think that they were going to make us stop? But we already defied the word on Beirut.
Who's
That's
they?
one thing.
Was that the Khatam al-Anbiya speaker who said that we're going to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that like he will say that not to make Israel stop, but to just act all tough to an internal audience. Like he's making content for a very specific audience inside. Like right now, his videos are so popular among pro-regime Iranians inside Iran, and the people like just feel like all alpha and tough and strong. He comes out speaks with this defiant voice, and honestly, like a lot of people who just love what he says, like many of them don't even follow if that promise is going to be followed through, or like there's going to be any follow through on that promise or not. They're just like, yeah, let's go. And that's just satisfying. That's just itching a scratch that needs to be scratched among pro-regime followers. That's who that is for. Does that
But
make
surely
sense?
some of them are going to. Yeah, but is it worth it if some of them are going to follow and say, wait a minute, they've been striking southern Lebanon nonstop. What are you doing? Why aren't you attacking? Aren't we the victors here? Or don't we have the upper hand?
That's you just described what I'm noticing happening in the past 5 years. Okay. So the Islamic Republic comes like, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna fuck them up, we're gonna sink the USS Abraham Lincoln, we're gonna take down their F-35s, we're gonna kill so many Israelis, we're gonna take them hostage, so guy, if you're surprised by this, these are the same people who said that we, like right before the war, they said we need to build so many prisons because we don't have a place to put all the Israeli soldiers that we're about to capture. Okay, that's what, like, so you think that that's a big deal and people get disappointed when but that doesn't happen. What do you think about people who came out and said that we sunk the USS Abraham Lincoln? Like I lost count how many times that has been sunk already, right? The people who came out and said that, oh, we struck down the F-35s of the Israelis and we have captured their female pilots. They're also, like, surprisingly, it was a female pilot apparently, and making all sorts of sexual jokes about, like, we could basically sell it to the our best soldiers, all of that. So this has been going on forever, and the thing is, the Islamic Republic is investing in short-term satisfaction and losing these people long-term, right? Because short-term, and the Islamic Republic, again, it's not stupid. There's a saying in Persian, say "Azin setun be un setun faraje," which means that we need to survive the short term, even if the long-term consequences of this is bad for us. If we don't survive the short term, we're fucked. So if our audience, if our supporters demand us being strong, even if you have to create bullshit narratives to convince them, give it to them for now. Long term, some of them, not all of them, some of them are going to be like, what the fuck just happened? You guys are messing with us, right? Yes, we'll deal with that later, but we can't afford to lose them right now. So just keep making content like that. So, but you're right. Long term, it has been, like, it's interesting because I've noticed right now, like just yesterday, multiple regime supporter analysts at the same time came out and say inside Iran, pro-Islamic Republic supporters at the same time came out and said that stop saying we're winning this. We're not winning this. Like, we had, like, they went through a list of things that they haven't achieved. Say they killed their supreme leader, and maybe we did a okay job defending ourselves, but we caused no damage to them. Like, they took this and this and this and this from us, and we have done nothing even remotely close to them compared to what they took from us. And I think, like, some regime supporters who want to say this, they wait because it's so taboo to say that at the beginning, but they come and they were like, I don't want to be the first person who says this. And they wait for other people who say it and like, oh, he said it a little bit, he hinted at it, so I'm going to hint at it a little bit. And then another person hints at it a bit more. And they become more daring and they come out and say, like, yeah, the regime is fucking with our head. We're actually losing this, right? Or at least we're not winning in the same sense that they say we are. So this is why I say that the best form of humiliation that we could get from the Islamic Republic, which we need the humiliation, comes from the regime supporters themselves. And you only get that when you have division within the Islamic Republic. You need to convince more regime supporters that you're losing this, and no amount of objective reality will demonstrate that. Like, no amount of evidence that you're losing this from us will not demonstrate that. The only thing that we could get the only way that we could get some of these regime supporters to accept that, holy fuck, we're actually losing this, if it's being told to them by well-known regime supporters within Iran. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I'll clarify a bit what my issue is. Like, if they had said, if you strike Beirut again, we're going to hit you, that actually would have had some force behind it, because we have yet to strike Beirut again since. And also we had actually a Hezbollah soldier break into the border, like break through to Israel with a gun, and we eliminated him. And now a lot of people are like, because in Israel, the perspective is largely we came out with the upper hand because they gave red lines, and we're not giving a shit about the red lines for the most part.
But guy, let me interrupt you there, because you're still thinking in the sense of stopping Israel, okay? But think about who the audience is. If you understand who the audience is, if I
not in the sense of stopping Israel. So
Okay.
I'll clarify.
But if I came out and said, like, if you hate Beirut, then we're gonna do this, then the regime supporters were like, why just Beirut? They're bombing our Hezbollah brothers and sisters everywhere else. And you're saying the red line is Beirut? So you're abandoning our Hezbollah brothers and sisters as long as they're being killed everywhere else? And only Beirut is your red line? So that would be a red line that regime supporters would be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
So the issue is that was already the red line. Like, to the extent that message was out there, was already out there beforehand.
But by who? Like, is that the same person within the Islamic Republic? So one person within the Islamic Republic will come and say, this is the red line, because their agenda is to, not get involved with more military operations with Israel if we could avoid it. Then I'm trying to avoid that. But then you have that spokesperson from Khat al-Anbiya. His agenda is go for maximum aggression and show maximum support for Hezbollah. So his red line is going to be different from another person's red line within the IRGC or within the regime.
Is he on the Delulu side of the regime? Like the side of things that we should fight back and we're winning this and so on? Is he actually like?
Well,
deluded?
no, I mean I don't know if he's the Lulu person or not, but they have an understanding of who their audience is. He's playing to a Delulu audience, more Delulu audience that needs more extreme responses.
Guys,
so yeah,
I kind of had one last topic I wanted to get to. I don't know if we're going to be able to. You got super chats?
Yes, I do have super chats, but you guys could do the topic after I go. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys after I'm gone,
think I just want to be cognizant of the time. You have around 2 minutes left. I want to make sure you get to your super chats.
Yep.
Just so you guys can finalize this. Whatever you guys are, this is deep in the weeds for me, but you guys talk it out.
Okay, so I'll say one more sentence and then we'll move on. Okay,
one more sentence. Yeah, go on.
So the issue is that within Israel, now that the soldier crossed through, there's like, okay, are we going, because they crossed through the border, they targeted our cities, are we going to strike Beirut again? And that's like the place where Netanyahu might look weak if we don't. And right now it looks like we don't. And if that would have been the threat, then that would have been a much better thing for them to do. But I now understand more what you said, Armin.
But that is also the threat. Like, you get all sorts of threats at all different levels from different parts of the Islamic Republic. Okay, so that's what you get. You get a diversity of different and sometimes contradictory threats as well. So let me just do the super chats really quickly. Oh, thank you guys. Look at this. Wow, we actually managed to get to the finish line. Fleshy Interloper saying, what happens post surrender deal? Ooh, That's a very. By the way, Guy, that was a very. I really enjoyed discussing that with you. That's my favorite topic. And also, this is a very good question for the interloper. I wish I had more time to go into the details of this, but let me just do a summary version. If we get a surrender deal, then we're going to be at phase 2 of the 4 phases. So phase 1 is the revolution phase. Phase 2 is the surrender phase. Phase 3 is the transitional government phase led by Prince Reza Pahlavi. Phase 4 will be the post transition after elections, and then we have finally normal government after that. So after the surrender, we're going to move to the surrender phase, when somebody from the Islamic Republic will basically come in and pretend that the Islamic Republic is still kicking and alive, and basically will submit to President Trump's conditions, and it will be a period of the Iranian people recognizing that this new government is not going to doesn't have any teeth, and it's going to basically, it will be a controlled collapse of the Islamic Republic. If we don't have a surrender period, we're going to have like a chaotic fall of the Islamic Republic. But if we have a surrender deal and a surrender phase, it would be a more controlled collapse of the Islamic Republic, with somebody from the Islamic Republic basically managing the process of surrendering until they give up and the people get their choice. Well, I could go into a lot more detail regarding that, but that's just a short version. And then Fleshy Interloper also just gifted the membership. Thank you so much for the gift. Rahman, are you still here? Oh, he left. Because the next comment I wanted to highlight was people complaining about Rahman's mic. So, guys, next time Rahman is here, if his mic is that bad, like tell him that people on YouTube were like having like have had a really. Oh, he's here. Rahman is here. Raham. Raham, can you get a better microphone, because people on YouTube were complaining about that. Right.
Do what you can, please, sir.
Yes, thank you. And then we have Alexia, who's both here. Is she still here? No, she left.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, thank you, Ram. Get a better mic. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna say his last word. He wanted to tell you that they're paying $14,000 per household to the Lebanese people. That's how much IRGC is paying for the Lebanese people, right? That you were saying they love the Lebanese force they project more than they love the IRGC supporters inside Iran. He was evidencing this, and if you're inside Iran, you get like a $4,000 loan to rebuild your house.
Yes, I can actually speak to it if you can hear me. Okay, this my headset is weird, so sometimes it screws things up.
Okay, now your audio is much better, but speak to it after I leave, because I'm gonna just quickly read the super chats, and you guys could stay in the discussion group and talk about it. So Alexia, who is still here, saying, "I wish to thank you all for everything. I now have a family I never had, that never let me down." Oh my God, Alexia, that's so sweet. Saying, "Thank you for being my family. Much love." Well, thank you, Alexia. Thank you so much. That's very sweet. And also, because this is the 10th super chat, she says, "Confetti," and then Javid Shah. Well, Javid Shah. Guys, if you guys don't know, when we get to the 10th super chat, there's confetti in our live chat. So Alexia is responsible for the confetti. And then the last super chat saying, "Message from ALC, Alexia," and then hearts, and then hugs. Well, thank you, Roman Cabbage. That's very sweet. Look at this. There's so much love in our, I want to say community, but that's cringe. In our group, in our community. Guys, I will the whole word community has been destroyed by YouTube Rewind. I don't know if we're ever going to get it back. So in our group. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Love you. Yes, thank you. All right, guys. I'm going to go. Wait, let me actually stop the recording. You guys continue the conversation without me. And guys on YouTube, if you join the discussion group, this conversation could go for hours and hours and hours and hours. So if you enjoy that, just jump into the discussion group and talk about them. Or if you want, but in the next 25 minutes, I will be back on YouTube doing the next live stream. So you could also join in on that. Okay, guys, I'm about to go eat. So till next time, same time tomorrow. I'm Israel Chai, Slava Ukrainia, Cuba Libre, Long Live America, Javid Shah, Payende, Iran. See you guys. Same time tomorrow. Bye, guys.